As you first walk up to the machine, you're going to see the home screen or app screen, and you can choose the function that you want by using the touch screen, or you can choose the hard keys from the side. I'm first going to cover the copier function, and you'll always need to put in a user code. So you enter your user code and press OK. The feeder on this device will hold up to 200 originals, and you always want to put them print side up. It has auto paper select, so it's automatically going to copy on the matching paper size. You can see all of your paper trays across the top of the touch screen. You can see the paper levels and the size of the paper in each of the trays. You also have a bypass tray on the side that you can use if you need a different paper size. As soon as you put paper into the bypass tray, it will automatically light up the bypass symbol. Thank you. And it will know to copy onto that paper. If you reset it, it'll go back to auto paper select, and then in order to use that paper again, you can just set it back in or select the bypass tray manually. So it doesn't matter if you leave the bypass door open or you can leave paper there too. It'll always default back to auto paper select. I keep pressing the yellow reset button. The reset clears everything back out to the defaults. Clear will just clear the quantity. Below your paper trays, you have some presets for reduction and enlargement, and also the auto reduce enlarge button, which you would use if you just want to go from one standard size to another. So if you have like 11 by 17 and you choose auto reduce enlarge, oops. If you choose the auto reduce enlarge and you have 11 by 17, it'll automatically highlight letter paper and it'll shrink your 11 by 17 down to letter. Right in the middle of the touch screen, you have your two-sided functions. There's one-sided to two-sided and two-sided to two-sided. If you need more duplexing functions like 2 to 1-sided, you'll find that, under the duplex combined series. And if you go to series, you'll find two-sided to one-sided. The create margin button will shrink the image just slightly so that nothing gets cut off around the edges. And, well, ID card copies, probably not something that you would use here, but you can put down a card on the screen. When you choose that and hit start, it'll copy one side, and then you flip it over and it'll copy the other side, and you'll have the front and back of the card on one sheet of paper. You do that? Yeah, okay. Then if you want your copies to come out collated, you'll need to press the sort button. So make sure you do that. And stacking is uncollated, but it'll offset by each different original you have. Sometimes it's called grouping. It'll do all the first page, then offset all the second page, and so on. The staple function is right along the bottom row, just to the right of sort. You just touch the staple position that you want. It'll do a top left, lower left, and then also 2 staples on an 11-inch edge. And it staples through 50 sheets thick. It also will hole punch. So your standard 3-hole punch is this one. The other one would just be, it just depends on the orientation of your original. It will only 3-hole punch on an 11-inch edge. So you just pick depending on the direction of your original. It will also 2-hole punch legal paper. or letter paper running landscape. So if you select the finishing tab, you can choose the 2-hole punch features. It 2-hole punches on an 8.5-inch edge running landscape. So it would be legal paper or letter landscape. And that would be here. And again, depending on the direction, but it's usually that one. So finishing has some of the other options that were shortcutted already on the screen. If you need to reduce or enlarge, all the options are under the lower right-hand corner. Just hit reduce, enlarge, and then you have several presets. You have plus minus keys to raise or lower in 1% increments, and you can also touch the number keys button and then just enter the percentage if you know what it is already. And then hit OK, and OK returns you back to the main screen. Down the left side, you can lighten or darken or describe what you're copying. Text is the default, but if you have something that has text and photo, you could select that, or just photo. Pale is good for pencil marks or fine lines that don't show up well in a copy. And a generation copy is a copy of a copy. So if you're losing quality, you can use that, it'll sharpen the image. Okay, when you're done copying, depending on the timers, you may want to log out. And to do that, if you hit the reset and the clear at the same time, it brings you back to the box that asks for your user code. Okay, does anybody have any questions on copying?
Was this the only model that had hole punching? Or was the other model having hole punching as well?
These are this model is the one that the college opted to add the hole punch feature to. Okay. So the next thing we'll cover is scanning. And you'll press scanner either from the touch screen or the hard key on the side. And you'll want to load your documents in the feeder print side up and select the network scan folder by highlighting that box that says network scan. And since you're going to be scanning to a shared folder, you're going to want to name your document or attachment, and you'll name it under where it says send file type name. Send file type name, just touch that. And then down at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see file name, and you can type in a name for your attachment. So select network scan, name your attachment, and it's defaulted to black and white, 300 resolution, and it's going to be a multi-page PDF. You can also scan in color by selecting scan settings and then changing it from black and white to full color, or auto color will also get you the same result. And then just hit OK. And when you press start, it'll scan it in color. You can lighten or darken over here on the left. And then below that, it says original feed type. This is where you can tell it if your original document is two-sided, so that you don't have to separate it out to single-sided pages before you scan it. You can tell it under original feed type that you have a two-sided original. It asks the orientation, does it open top to top or top to bottom? And then there's a picture representation here of your originals. And then it asks, is the last page one or two-sided, so you don't scan a blank at the end. Okay. So that is how to scan to your shared folder. Any questions on that?
How do we set up a shared folder?
The folders will already be set up if you had folders on your last copier. Now, if your new one if you just have a new one that's just being installed, he's the guy to contact to set the folder up for you. That guy. Okay. Yeah. Okay, but you can also scan to USB. So if you have a thumb drive or an SD card, there's slots on the side right here. And you can insert your thumb drive. And then you want to select your document name, and if your original is two-sided, if you want to color scan or black and white. Once you've chose all the settings, you go up here to where it says Store File. It's at top center of the screen there. Hit Store File, and then you press Store to Memory Device and hit OK. And at this point, you just hit Start, and it'll scan it to your thumb drive. Did you have any questions on scanning? Okay. Otherwise here, the printer, for printing, if there's ever a conflict between the choices you've made at your computer and what's actually available at the copier printer, light is going to turn red. And if you press the printer button, it will tell you what the problem is. It will say, you know, maybe load the correct paper size in the specific tray. And then once you do that, it'll correct the problem and it'll just print out what you sent. Or you can hit Job Reset to cancel the current job. Now, you all are going to be sending locked print as a default. And locked print means that you would have to enter a code to release your print job from the touch screen here. So you'd send your job over, instead of it just printing out, all the devices are defaulted to hold the job until you enter a code. So you'll have to walk up and touch the printer button and then hit Print Jobs, and you'll see your username, your Windows username on a box. You'll touch that box, and then it will show your print job. You can highlight that and then hit Print, and it'll prompt you for your code. When you set up your user code, you can also set up your locked print code to be the same so that you don't have to remember two separate codes. And you'll enter in your user code and hit OK, and that's not their code, so, but. So you can say that you want to print or cancel it. I'm not going to print it because I don't know whose it is. But that's going to store that job there for up to 3 days. If they don't print it out, it'll delete after 3 days.
What if they just automatically print this printer? Because one of the purposes that we had in getting this equipment was that, you know, everybody would just automatically print to that.
Yeah, you can do that.
We don't want, okay, what's going to happen if she's printing and then I put one through? It's just going to
line them up.
next job and line
yeah,
them
just
up.
one at a time.
Okay, so we don't have to use the code system.
The code system is the default. If user codes aren't going to work out for you, it's not something that you want to utilize, or there's an issue with that, he can change it. He can turn it off.
Well, I would turn it off when I installed it on the professor's.
Okay.
Here's the benefit to long term. People sit and they say, oh, I don't like that, I don't like that I have to come and release my job. One of the things that we've heard so many times from people, and the reason we have this situation right here, is because people say, I need a printer next to my desk because I have sensitive data that I can't.
No.
So they'll refuse to print to a network printer because they have to have it sitting next to it.
No.
And I'm not saying necessarily that it's your department, but we've gotten, we've
No,
had this
that's
so
not
much.
the issue I'm speaking to. You could get a professor sitting back there in the corner, they want to run a print, they have to come in here and put in their code so they can print, and then they have to come back, the professors just won't go for that, is what I'm saying.
Well, and what they can do is they don't have to print or get up, get their job, go back to their desk, print, get their job, come back, print, or release, go back, print. They can rack up 5, 10, 15 documents. They can wait an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before they come. They can print, do everything they need to do, print 5, 6, 8, 10 documents, come to the unit and release all 8 documents, get up and go.
I understand
Now,
that.
on a one-by-one basis, instead of selecting lock print in your printer options, all you have to do is select normal print and it will shoot out the printer
Yes,
just like normal.
that's what I've done for them, because I can tell you it will be an issue with the professors.
Well, and I think it's a change in mindset.
We'll
And that's
work
what
on
I've
that.
tried to do is stress, try it, don't immediately turn it off, because if we're starting to pay for printing, whereas, I mean, and we've always paid for printing because we paid for tone, we paid for paper. If we get more into the mindset of, I need, if I print, do I really need it? But just like we have with the students in the labs, we've done release stations. Because we got into the situation where we were printing hundreds of thousands of pages per month, this kind of makes you think, okay, like for you guys, somebody sends you a document and they tell you to print it for them. Then 5 minutes later, they'll say, hey, you know what, I messed up a word in that document, or I did this wrong. If we go now to normal print, you're gonna waste 10, 15, 20 pages, whatever it is. With lock print, you can print, and then if that happens in 5 minutes and you haven't released it, you can delete that bad job and not have printed, not have wasted the paper, not have wasted the tone, or whatever the case may be. I'm not going to say that lock print is gonna work for everybody, but I'm encouraging people to try it first, see if it indeed is going to make them not like these units. 'Cause I don't want that either. I don't want people to look at these units and say, I don't like Rico because of this. It's not Rico. It's just something that we're trying to do to help cut costs, to help make people
I
think.
totally understand what you're saying.
No, and if you want to
I
set,
totally understand.
yeah, and if you want to set it to normal print, it's a preference of the person. You can set it to normal print and it will not impact anyone else. So,
Just make sure that when people are setting up their printing, that there is a code. Usually you want to go into printers and devices and then go into your preferences, and you have to enter a user code in order to be able to print at all, which I guess you've already done that because, yeah. So make sure that code's in for everybody. Okay. And that way you won't have to worry about entering a code every time too if it's your default. Okay. All right. So
What you're saying is though, if they send a print job to the printer, they have to come in here, put the code in there in order for it to print out.
if you
No,
set
it has to
normal
be in-
print, no.
no.
No, I
No.
mean, if
If
it's
you-
defaulted to the,
Not to do with any of that. I'm just saying, you have to, when you hit copier, you have to put in
I'm talking printer.
the user code. You have to put it in the printer too. If you don't have a user code at the printer,
I understand.
okay,
that, but
that's
if-
all I was
if
saying.
If it's hold the job or whatever you called it at the beginning.
You don't have to do that. Just change the job type from locked print to normal print, and it'll
so
print.
if it's unlocked print,
Then
they
you
s-
have
they
to-
have to come in here and put the code in.
If it's on normal print, it'll just print
That's
out.
what I
And they have the option to go back and forth or choose it. They don't have to use locked print. He's saying they should try it, see if they like it, and give it a chance. So, okay. All right, so do we have any questions on printing? Printing? Nope. Okay, so the next thing I need to cover is how to clear the jams and add the toner and staples. And we'll take this out first. Okay, if a jam was to occur, this light will come on, giving an error. And if you press copy, it will show a picture on the screen of the copier. And if it's actually jammed, it'll have a picture alongside of that with directions and how to clear out the paper jam. I'm going to go through all the areas that it might jam. And if it happens to jam in the document feeder, this opens up, and that's going to loosen the paper path just by opening it. And you can remove your paper, and that will, opening it will keep it from tearing. And then inside, there's a lever. If you press that to the left, that opens up, and you can remove paper from here. There is also a scanning area inside, and you may need to clean that as well as your regular narrow strip of glass and large glass area. Then also down here at the bottom would be one of the first places. As the paper comes out of the paper tray, it travels up the right side of the machine and then through the middle. This would be one of the first places that it might jam. The bottom, you just open the door, there's no knobs to turn. You would just bend down and remove the paper from that area. Then right above the bypass tray, there's a lever you can use to open a door. And in this area, anything that's marked blue, you can use to clear the paper jams out. So we have one area inside the door. We have one here, just open and then remove the paper. And then there's one area here. They're labeled with letters, so it'll match up with what's showing on the screen. The paper then travels through the middle and out to the finisher, and this slides out right here. Lift that up. And there's a blue knob that you can turn to feed the paper out, and then there's one you can lift to remove the paper. The green is your staples, and you'll just pull this out. And when it's empty, you'll be able to pinch the two arrows together on either side, squeeze them together, and just pull the empty plastic off of there. And then you'll put a new one on here. It'll be pre-filled with staples. They come pre-filled with 5,000 staples, and they're just pre-cut strips. And all you have to do is just put it back in where it came out there. Straight in, depending on your angle there. It just snaps in place. The toner is behind the big panel here. You open this up. Here's your bottle of toner, and it gives you a warning at the bottom of the screen here. It'll tell you. You can also press the check status and maintenance inquiry machine information. It shows you the status of your toner. It says status okay, but if it was getting low, it would say that there. Okay. The toner, to change it, just pull the bottle out. The new one has a cap at the end. With the cap on, you'll shake it 5 or 6 times from side to side, then undo the black cap. With the arrow at the top, just point it at the hole that the old one came out of and push it right back in, and that's it. And close that up. Your paper trays, they each hold 1 ream of paper, and they're adjustable up to 11 by 17. And on this model, you can also run envelopes out of the paper trays. And there's instructions on the inside of the door how to position your envelopes as well. Any questions on that?
This model has a hole puncher. So
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I'm sorry. It's right here. There's a hole punch waste. I forgot. My fault. The hole punch waste container is right here. I have to slide it out. No? Oh, yeah. So if you slide that out, then that comes right out and you can dump it.
do we get a warning if this one is full? Or
Yes, it does have a sensor, and when it fills to a certain level, it'll give a warning.
I noticed when I put an order in for the toner refills, that there was a cartridge for waste toner. Do we change that, or do you do like a monthly service of this equipment? Is there a service?
The waste toner container can only be changed on this model by a technician,
Okay.
but it's good to have on hand. So if comes up, it usually gives you fair warning to get in touch with a tech, but they don't always have one on hand. So it would save you the time and get you back up and rolling. Yeah.
And how often do you service these?
It's at your request.
Okay, so you don't do a maintenance program of any kind?
They will maintain the machine as needed.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? You registered at myrico.com. It's okay. Did anyone have any questions about MyRico? We have a sheet that we set in the other room with directions on that as well.
How do we assign user codes?
On the user codes, we're going to need to look at the computer. So I'll have to do that when we're finished with this. Okay. Any other questions?
So we only have 2 different kinds of toners, or 4 for all the different models here?
Different models can look similar. The bottles can look similar, but it depends on the model what type of toner they take. So the bottles could look or change the same way, but that doesn't mean they take the same toner. I'm not sure that they do. You just need to order according to your equipment ID number. Okay. All right, well, thank you very much on that part. And did you have your computer, or can I show them on your computer how to add the user codes? In order to print out a configuration page to find out what your machine's IP address is, you would press the User Tools Counter button, then press the Printer Features button on the touch screen, then press Configuration Page, and it will print out your configuration page, and you will find your IP address on the lower right-hand corner of the first page, where it says IP address.
Real blurry.
It's on this one, it is 10.2 2232.79. It's not the gateway address, it's the IPv4 address. So you'll need that in order to access the web image monitor and enter or change user codes.
Can you just continue to use that one that we're using now, the 100001?
Yeah.
Do we have to change it?
No.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to use that. We can do that on yours if you want. How about that? We need to be on the internet and clear out our address bar and then type in just the IP address. Oops, 10 dot. Or no, it's not going to do it. Okay, so we type in the IP address and we get a picture of our copier. We have the model number. We're going to need to log in to change our user codes or add more. So up here on the top right, you click login. And our login is WIU, and the password is 1000. And then you click login. And now we're logged in as an administrator, and you would go over to device management and then address book. And we have conveniently available user codes already set up to make the process faster for you. So you can just change these to assign them, or if you really don't want to use these numbers, like maybe you want a 4-digit user code or you want to use something completely different, you can just change or add a new one. So if we want to assign this to somebody, which is the easiest way to do it, is to use one of these, we just put a check mark over by the little face picture and then go to change. Change, and we wait till the page loads. And we go into basic information, and it shows the key display, the number here. Go to next. I don't need that. Okay. That's not what I wanted. Change.
Go back.
I'm okay.
User input.
Hit the detailed input tab.
Oh, thank you. This one was a different version than the last one we looked at. Okay, so detailed input, change. And now it's back to the way I'm used to looking at it, sorry. They add new things all the time. Okay, so the main thing is down here it says user code. So that is where we enter the code that we put in at the copier. If you want to assign that to somebody, you can put in a name up here at the top where it says name, or you can just leave it with that code number. We want to make sure that that code gives the person the rights to do certain things. So we want this code to give that person using it the right to make copies, to fax, to scan. Some of the scans weren't checked, to scan and print. And at this point, if we're going to assign it, like I said, we just put the name to it so that when you go in here and look at it, you can see that it's assigned. You give somebody that code and just hit save and add another, or OK. And that is how you edit. And adding a user is just a matter of typing in all the information, but he's already conveniently set up those codes so that you didn't have to put that information in every time. The only thing you want to make sure is that that scanner box is checked, because it was missed on a couple of them. Down here where it says available functions, you want to make sure copy, fax, scan, and printers are checked.
Is there a place on the screen where you can limit the amount of copies someone can print?
And that's why copy codes are beneficial, because we've not introduced that. There may be a way to do it. I've seen buttons for it. But if you ever want to know who's doing what, and there becomes a question about, we've had 3,000 pages this month, who did that? With copy codes, they can look back and say, copy code 1234 printed 2,600, or did 2,600 prints. You now know that Bob Smith did it. That's one of the bigger benefits to user codes. Is I'm not saying that we have to be Big Brother, but I've had many departments that have said, we want to get a handle on our waste, on our paper. Well, here's a good way to do it.
So there isn't a way from here to limit that, but you can check who's making what.
Is there a way to clear out those numbers? On our previous copier, we do keep track of everyone and how much they print and copy, so we have a monthly.
You can print out the the list from the device, but it is requesting admin access, so that might be something that he has to allow you access to. But you can do that at the, yeah, you'd go into user tools and do that.
Because it's not automatically, I would check with DPS and funnel it that way, because they will need to talk to Rika to make sure there's no adverse effect on billing.
Okay.
Because nobody's going to be visiting the copiers anymore. It'll all be done online.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scanning is not required because we,
Oh, it's not got a user code.
correct.
Okay.
So the network scan,
Okay.
the only thing that requires the scanning is that network scan button. So
Okay, I understand.
scanning is not required.
You don't have to make sure the check mark's there. I mean, it's okay if it is there, but you don't have to have it there. I understand.
That's why it's not checked.
Okay, I got it.